Are we all doing a last minute check for?
Oh no, this is just getting him catching a cat.
Oh, okay.
Uh, did my sample work fine?
I am being slow. Welcome to the Game Corner, another video game podcast. I'll be your host today, whenever. My name's Harrison. You might know me as Ixen, and I'm joined by
Rowan, you might know me as Mocha, and I believe in Lechonk supremacy. And I am joined by...
And I'm Sheldon, probably better known as Captain Unova, and I am fully on the Lechonk train.
I am personally stuck between Lechonk and Smoliv. They're both good little boys. Anywho, if you couldn't tell already, we watched the trailer. This is, I think, what, trailer 2, the second trailer, yeah,
Yep.
for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be a week or just over a week old. So there's plenty of chatter going on online about the trailer. And then, of course, if you listened to the last episode, we mentioned that we were recording right before it dropped. We had the news that day. So now, here we are recording again. And we're here to talk about our thoughts and feelings on the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailer. So, I don't know, y'all, what do you think?
I'm hyped.
Yeah, it looks so good. It, like, even the sound is great. Like, I'm like, we can jump into all the individual things, but I'm so excited. This is maybe the best main series game ever.
I want to touch on sound real quick. Y'all know Toby Fox is working on some of the ambient music for this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I just enjoyed the trailer background, but
Part of his music is in there, and he tweeted out something about it that same day. So if you look for Toby Fox on Twitter, he mentions it. I think something in the back of my mind says around 58 seconds in the trailer is when you can hear his music. I think someone commented that. So look at that later. That's awesome. So we'll hear a lot of his music. Again, I think he said like ambient background sort of music when you're exploring the area.
right.
So that'd be cool. But yeah, no, I agree. I on a scale of 1 to hyped, I am hyped. The game, the trailer looks good, and I mean, we can be organized about this. Before we all just kind of start blabbering about it. Let's graphics, how the game looks. What do you think?
I mean, someone is gonna find a tree somewhere that they don't like, and that's well and good. But
Grass.
it genuinely looks very good. Like, I mean, there are obviously parts of Sword and Shield that like were not as polished, and I think Sword and Shield gets a bad rap because it was pretty much just the wild area that looked bad. Like all of the like more isometric like force camera angle places actually looked amazing in Sword and Shield, but like you can tell that if they haven't I think they've actually redone the models. Like, it's not, the textures look way better, obviously. Like, the things that before were like smooth plastic are now like fur or skin or whatever textured, or scales for Survivor, I think they showed.
Yep.
But like the models themselves look a little different too. Like, they look like they you could tell that the Sword and Shield models were exactly the same as the 3DS ones.
Mm-hmm.
These look different. I think they might have like rebuilt a ton of mons for it. They look so great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. Like, if you look at like Pokemon Snap and the Legends Arceus, it's very similar. Like, everything's got a lot more life to it. I feel like, like you said, everything Sword and Shield, it looked plastic.
Yeah,
that was the aesthetic. It wasn't necessarily bad, but like it was very much like they were leaning
and that's the thing,
the technical limitations.
That's the thing that a lot of people like don't want to acknowledge in that conversation. I feel is that, like, yes, I think we can all agree that Sword and Shield could have looked better. I think Scarlet and Violet are proof of that. However, part of it is also design choice, artistic design, whatever they want for the game. I stand by that as a thought. I think it could have looked better in places and things. I agree. I think the wild area is probably the worst part about it. The routes and the cities looks pretty good, right? All things considered. And also speaking of the models, looking at Sheldon shared with us a little while ago, like a comparison view. I think this is actually from the first trailer. But like the models look somewhat updated, right? Like there's more detail, more depth, not just the textures, but like there's like Seviper's fangs are a different shape. There's a different angle on them.
Someone showed that like their faces have like actual dimensions now, like
like
a lot of the mons that they have depth. Like a lot of the mons in Sword and Shield and 3DS ones, the like the mouths and noses are effectively just
painted on.
Yeah. Whereas this, like, they can show like the snout comes out a little bit or whatever. Like someone went back and did that, and you can't fix that with textures. That is a model change flat out. Like I don't know if they've done that to everything or just a few. It's a lot easier to do that with a regional dex, which I think is definitely something we should touch on here, because like I think regional dexes actually change the game of waiting for these games a lot more now.
Oh yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's something that I imagine we'll end up talking about in a few months, right? For the VGC side of things, the regional decks, the choices that they make there, whether it is, you know, having certain mons in, we saw obviously in the trailer, we saw some returning Pokemon that I'm excited for. But you get to see a sample of the, at that point, well over 1,000 Pokemon that we'll have, you know, in the national decks. So we get to see a subset of that, say like, hey, this is how, you know, how the VGC scene changes for that, how these mons are used. But also, I think you're right, it shortens development cycles a little bit to have, hey, instead of 1,125 Pokemon in a game, we can focus on the mechanics and the textures and importing, you know, 400 or 500, and whatever, 300 even.
To me, it's kind of like more hype too. So like when I saw Flaffy in this trailer, I was like, oh man, like my Ampharos is back. This is awesome. I'm gonna be able to like bring in the one I had from Heart Gold Soul Silver like into this, and or no, forget Heart Gold Soul Silver. I have one from Coliseum waiting to come in. Like that's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's super cool. Like, and I saw like a Dragonite statue in the first trailer, and I was like, yes, like that like hopefully that means that, I don't know. It's I know people are disappointed about not being able to bring in everything every game, but it kind of adds another dimension of hype to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good competitively too. Like
absolutely.
we don't need, you know, over 1,000 choices.
Yeah.
You know, in something. I feel like especially with regional dexes, it's a lot better off.
Well,
you know, a smaller scale, and then even when we branch out to we're gonna have a DLC.
Yep.
They're probably going to go to Sword and Shield route, a DLC or two, and they'll add a little bit in here and there, but it's not going to be too much. It's not going to be too overwhelming, enough to shake things up some.
I
look forward to that.
The best thing that could have happened to VGC. Like I think that's the pandemic helped VGC, which is not amazing, but you know, whatever. But like
It is what it is.
But the way they trickled out additional mons into each series to like make the format just grow a bit each time, that was massive. There's no like if we had started with Series 9 at the beginning, then interest would have died out immediately. Like they trickled out Gmax forms, and you got one DLC, then you get another DLC, then you get restricted, then you get no max. Like I don't know if I would have honestly had the attention span to stay with VGC back in the day when you had one format for a year. Every year, like that sounds
that would be rough.
Really dull, to be honest. Like I think it's super cool when metas develop, and that probably only happens in longer formats. But I don't know. I want to have fun with this game.
But I think 2 to 3 months, things can like develop and evolve in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah,
I think
maybe not quite to the same degree, but it does for sure.
I mean, I think we've mentioned,
especially if you have any kind of events.
Oh, sorry, go on, Sheldon.
Oh no, I was gonna say, especially if you have any kind of events during that time.
Yep.
Where people have something to try for, you're going to get development.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look at like Series 12, right? Like we're gonna be here for over 6 months or something, so we will see this develop and mature over that time too. But I agree with what you're saying, Rowan, with the constant changes that really come from play Pokemon or you know, from the DLC existing, right? Like those types of things will keep it fresh in a maybe not as I don't know if natural is the right term for how the current meta is developing, right? And more artificial with like, oh, here's just a new set of Pokemon to play with, right? But I still think that's a those kind of major shakeups are more fun, I think, and keep it interesting.
Yeah, it kind of makes it feel like not necessarily like, balance patches, but it feels like, it's something like they're adding something, like something's happening.
Yeah.
Whenever you trickle it in. The only issue with that, I feel like, though, is like whatever the mechanic is, if it's possible, because Dynamax and Gmax made that possible.
Right.
When you have different forms of Pokemon already in a game, like with Gmax, you can trickle out these powerful effects. So,
you may not be able to do this exactly the same thing with Gmax, but even DLC, or just like you can restrict some mons that come in the original base ones.
Yeah, you can do, and they can do maybe a better thought out Series 6 type of deal too, to kind of, if they want to go that route. But I think Gmax allowed for the shake up like that, like the trickle down into different series. And it made it exciting, whenever you finally got to use Colossal or Gmax Lapras and all those. So I like that aspect of it, but it depends on the mechanic, I think, for something like that to happen. Like
it depends if it's universal. And Dynamax kind of struck the balance where you had unique things like Gmax, but then everybody could have the generic version of the mechanic. Whereas like you could totally have done something like this for Megas, to say like you can only use certain Megas in each format, but you couldn't have done it for Z moves. You can't be like no water types this series. Sorry,
right.
So yeah, you're right. It just depends on the design.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll touch more, I think, a little bit on VGC thoughts. I probably for the next few months. But I'm thinking, what else from the trailer got y'all super hyped?
4-player co-op could be huge.
I want to see how they manage that.
Me too.
Exactly.
One of the big thoughts.
Hesitant.
So yeah. On that note, on the point of hesitancy, I was skeptical at first, and honestly still am. But they also had the gall to be like, "Hey, here's a second trailer, like half a year before the game comes out. Yeah, we have multiplayer, and we're open world." Which, like, they must have so much confidence in their implementation for open world, open world and co-op, to make it like to let that hype exist for so long.
It seems like it's the headlining feature, to be honest. Like that in the open world, you're right. They it wasn't really touched on in the trailer, but the website, something around it later specifically said like you don't have to play this game in any specific order. The story will not dictate it for you like the old games do. So you can beat any gym leader in any order and so on, if there even are gyms, for all we know. But like it kind of goes along with like the lore they've been pushing recently, where like gym leaders aren't actually as weak as you think they are. Brock doesn't have a level 9 Onyx. He keeps different mons around to test you depending on your level, and you can totally just use that idea for real.
Pokemon, was that Origins, I think, that short YouTube series came out, I was so excited to see like, oh, that's a great, like, it's cool to see them actually think about something like that. And now if we could experience that in the games, that'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. Now, there's been talk online, so I'm trying to find the exact wording on the website. I'm searching right now. But there's been talk online of, just because it says you can experience a new style of adventure with a world that you're free to explore at your leisure, and not in any order dictated by the story. I've heard chatter on both sides of the story of what you said, which I think is what I agree with, that you can do anything, any order, any gym order or whatever gym equivalent there is, right? I think for conversation, we all know what gym means in when we're talking about these games.
Yeah.
But you can do it in any order, you can go anywhere, which is cool. I like that. I've also seen the discussion of, well, actually that means there's still an order to the gyms, but you can do the gym, or you can go fight the bad team, or you can go do something. So like you have like 3, 4, 5 options of what you can do, and then it all kind of like leads back to, okay, after that there's another set of options, and you kind of have to do all of them. And I'm like, that seems like it's really, if they go that route, which I could see, I think they really sell themselves short on what they could actually, what they're trying to say in their website, right?
I'd love to see the former, and like some form of level scaling would be really great. Like They almost hit it with Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, except they capped themselves. They had level scaling, but up to 80, and then it just stopped. So anybody
Wasn't it,
who'd
like,
been
just
playing
two
anybody who'd been playing
options?
semi-seriously had candy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you were gonna be at 100, and then it would be like trivial.
Yep.
So I hope they do that right, where like you're at this area of the game, but the things you fight will be relatively equal to you. So
Yeah.
it's always a challenge.
I think they have to have some bit of something telling you this is what you need to do, though. You know, it can't be what's that game everybody played, Elden Ring? What, you know, it can't be that kind of open world. I don't think. Like, it still needs it's.
I'm curious to what you're going for, to think or to see how they do, and I hope they do some sort of gatekeeping, right? So
Yes.
in
Yep.
the same way, like HMs really stopped you from progressing in a linear story in the old games, I hope they have something.
Yeah,
No gatekeeping. I want to take a wrong turn and run into a trainer with mons 40 levels higher than me. I want them to curb stomp me, and then I have to go back with my tail between my legs and find the right way.
Let's say I think they can still do that. Like, if, like, you know, you can have certain routes that are certain levels, you know, but so I mean that way is part of the gate, you know, the gatekeeping, though, saying you can't go here. You're not strong enough to go this way. So, you know,
Okay, fair,
if you
fair,
go this
fair.
other way, you got a lot easier time.
So
You know, or something actually possible.
I like,
So that way it's still linear-ish,
yeah.
but you could just sit there and knock out Route 1 mods until you're level 40 and
And sit in the forest killing boars.
yep.
Lechonk, just grinding on Lechonk. No, so I'm curious, right? So looking at or thinking about different types of gatekeeping, and Rowan, you mentioned level scaling before. I hope that there are still areas that, like, you find Pokemon that are in this range, this level range, and they'll always be in this level range. If there's a little bit of scaling to go with it, sure. But I want there to be, it to me, it just feels like there would be almost a more natural feel to it, of like, yeah, of course, all the Pokemon that are over by the dragon volcano in the north or something, right? Like, they're all gonna be strong,
yeah,
right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then this, at the same point, like, you can go and you can still, if you have a lower level Pokemon, you can still train that on lower level Pokemon, right?
Yeah. They have a serious game design problem ahead of them.
Yeah.
It's also just in the series identity that, like, Route 1 you fight rodents and birds.
Yep.
Like, and there are always rodents and birds there. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm excited
It's
to
like,
see how
you
they
know,
tackle
Sword and
that.
Shield, the wild area had the same issue, I think, in a wild area. Like, because, you know, once you hit a certain point, everything's level 60
Yeah.
in a wild area. And it's just weird running into like a level 60 Caterpie.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like,
don't know. I liked the wild area. I thought the wild area was actually like the best example of scaling they'd done, where it just got stronger as you got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see it go higher. I wanted
Yeah.
the wild area to like scale up to 80, 90. Like, let me run into a level 100 Dragapult when I'm in post game. Like, let's do it.
I agree with that. It's just like the pool didn't change, you know, like what you saw out in the wild, that didn't change with it. I think that's part of the problem. Like that needs to kind of resemble what
They need to be mindful
level
of
you're
that,
at.
right? Like, they need to make the decisions to be like, yes, we can level scale this area, but they're like, Caterpie are still gonna be weak bugs, right? Like, they're still gonna be level 10 now. Ooh, scary, right? Like, instead of level 4 or something. But level 60 Caterpie, it's kind of weird. Just because I'm super strong now and I beat the champion, or I got all 18 badges, right? That doesn't mean that I, like, everything around me is suddenly, like, you know, wicked strong. Right?
And I'm speaking from a perspective that is just not really factual, honestly. It's like the idea that you could, like, get a challenge from this, but the single player is never challenging to begin with, so you might as well just go for the immersion. And
Yeah, I think that's bigger, is if, you know, that if you kind of feel like you're in the game more, I feel like that's better than, like you said, it's not going to be challenging. I feel like probably the one most challenging fights I've had in Pokemon was playing, like, in PLA, was the Giratina fight.
Yeah,
that's because you can't predict, but that's because of the battle system.
the battle system's awful.
Yeah,
completely different.
So because you can't, you know, like in normal Pokemon, you know, swap in a normal type into a ghost move or something.
Mm-hmm.
It almost makes it impossible if you are at the wrong, So that's a way to make it hard, but that's a bad way to make it hard. That's a false difficulty kind of thing.
Right.
You know, it's not really, and nothing in a Pokemon game, unless you're self-set rule like a Nuzlocke.
Right.
That's about the only way that you can make it truly difficult.
Now, what if they do actually add a difficulty setting? Because that existed in I think a single game before, right?
Black and
And
White.
you have to like
Or
beat the
Black-
game and transfer it to another game to get hard mode or something absurd like that. Yeah.
So what if they
Some
actually?
I
convoluted-
think it'd be cool. That's what what the people have been clamoring for forever. Like,
If there was like a Nuzlocke setting that it just like something died, it straight up just, you know, yeeted it out of your inventory. And
I would be.
I don't think you'll ever get Nuzlocke, but
Yeah.
I think you will get like. I think it's within the realm of possibility that they do a hard mode where like the mons have more moves or higher level or whatever. But
yeah,
Right. Or
Yeah.
trainers have 6 Pokemon.
yeah.
wacky.
Yeah, what a thought. Okay, cool. So going more into the trailer here, we've already touched on them. But let's talk about them. Let's give them all their time to shine. We got 5 new Pokemon from this 5? Yeah.
Yep.
5 new Pokemon from this trailer. We have everyone's favorite Lechonk. I know y'all let off with
Yeah.
how much you love Lechonk. This beefy porky boy.
Yeah.
I want to see what he evolves into. I want to see how he like his Pokedex entry or the website description of like he's
The
all
pure muscle
because he walked looking for food.
I identify with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. I mean, I hope it actually turns into something good because I feel like everybody fell in love with Wooloo as well, and then like
The only thing that scares me
Johnny
is
got the
it's
game and tossed it.
Yeah.
it's a route. It's going to be a route 1 mod, so I don't have high hopes for its evolution competitively.
That is
I mean, you never know because like Corviknight was good in a regional meta for a while. So
Double had its uses. You know, Cotton Guard Body Press is a
Yeah.
thing.
but that was also like it's one thing.
It's exactly.
So as much as I love
and-
Double, I wish it had more utility and stuff in VGC.
Yeah, and also, you know, like Corviknight, it was a steel type. Of course, it's going to be good.
And they gave it
You
a
know,
Gmax.
Yeah, our poor pig is normal type, sadly. Which
I wonder if
there
you
is the possibility of the fairy typing because of the ability.
the Orville.
That's the
right?
big question. Yep, the Romaville, because every other
Romaville.
Pokemon that gets that is fairy type.
Yep. So that's an interesting thought that it came out of the website and the internet, right? And I think that's cool. I would
although
be
Solid Muscle might be fighting. You never know.
Yeah,
it evolves
and it
into
gets
a fairy fighting. That'd be great.
and it gets gluttony. So I mean, belly drum. It is a pig. It's got to have a belly.
Oh,
Yeah,
it could also
Belly-
be a
belly
physical
drum.
fairy.
I could see it.
I don't know. There are cool options there. I'm excited to see. I mean, just they went with the name Lechonk.
Yeah, that
Okay, so apparently that is like actually Spanish for like smoked pig or something like that.
like
it's
baby
some-
pig or something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Lechon is that, and they just made it chunk.
Oh, okay. Lechonera. That's the word. That yeah. Okay. Yep. Something to do with you know Hispanic pork. But also they went with the name Lechonk. They knew what they were doing.
Oh, definitely.
And speaking of knowing what they were doing, Smoliv.
Small.
Small olive. Oh,
Small.
this
That thing is
anxiety.
cute, but I don't have a whole ton of thoughts on it. I don't know where they're gonna go with that.
To me, it looks like it wants you to put it out of its misery. That's what I look at. Every time I see it, it's just saying kill me. Like it doesn't want to live.
Wow, we got dark for a Pokemon game.
I know. But
No, I mean it's I think it's adorable, right? It's cute. One of the theories that I saw that I like a lot is that with the olive aesthetic, right? And the way that Pokemon like Badoo and even Oddish has a form of this. All those other grass Pokemon that look the exact same with a similar silhouette or whatever. But they all evolve into like some humanoid plant type thing, right? People think like
half
this
of them
one's
get chlorophyll,
it's what?
and half of them get chlorophyll.
And how to get
Yeah.
chlorophyll. but people thinking that this could be like something like Athena based. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool.
Okay.
With
Yeah.
Based on what, like the fact that it's crying and then it becomes brave later. Oh, okay.
and, I mean that
Yeah.
could also be its own little arc too.
Right.
But Athena has connections with olive branches and olives, right?
Yeah.
So like that's a thing. So like,
okay.
and just a humanoid plant type creature, that'd be cool. But
Did we get an ability on it? I don't even know where they got
He
the
got hurt.
ability.
Early bird.
Early bird. Okay,
But
that seems a lot like it's going towards chlorophyll when it evolves.
But we didn't get it. We don't know if it has a hidden ability. They didn't put that either. So that's probably, it's either chlorophyll or it might be something new.
it's also weird
Why
that
they
it
didn't
has
put-
normal typing as a second typing.
That is weird.
So we don't.
Really, I feel like that just makes it objectively worse. I guess you got the ghost
Yeah.
immunity, but like in general, it's just like
normal
he
type
was out
doesn't
of
add-
weakness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because a normal stab doesn't do much for you.
So I'm hoping. I mean, when I see something that is any other type and normal, except for I guess flying, I hope it loses the normal type at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't know what it could go get with an olive, and I don't want it to be grass poison. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I
Yeah.
don't want it to be grass
Yeah.
poison, even though it
We
does
got enough
say
of
like
those.
its oil is so bitter or something. Like nah, don't
Yeah.
make it poison, please.
There are so many of those like really common. I feel like they've gotten away from the super common type combinations for the most part
Right.
Yeah.
recently, but like there are still like there's 900 mons now, give or take,
980.
and there are still combinations that don't exist yet.
Yeah,
So like and then a couple that are just like only in mythicals. Like I want to see another fire water type. Like Volcanion is super cool
Yeah.
and nobody
Yeah.
knows about it because it was in like one event
yeah.
like years ago.
You can
But
never
like we
get
don't
one.
have a fire grass.
I was
which
gonna say, yeah, we're gonna have a burning olive, right? It's gonna olive oil catches on fire, right?
There you go.
And we have the
Fire
fire
grass.
plant, Athena Pokemon.
I like that. That's officially what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that would be great.
It'll cry even more if it's on fire.
Oh, you're probably right.
Bo, you're putting it out of its misery.
You are so dark today. Oh, it's gonna be grass dark type because of everything you're saying, Sheldon. All right, and then we have Palmy, who it's a Pika clone.
That's the Pika clone, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks adorable. Okay, so the rumor I saw, and it's not even a rumor, it's just fan art, but like people are saying it really fit well for it, is that it looks a lot like the scrapped third Pikachu evolution.
Yeah.
Like Gorachu.
Gorachu,
It's
yeah.
just like this. It's
Yeah.
just like edgy Raichu, like. But people did fan art of like it, just like one step up, and it looked a lot like that scrap design.
I saw
that would be
that
great if
art,
it actually evolves.
and I saw art of like someone redid like Gorachu as if it came from Palmy. It's like they like took the two designs and put them together, and I was like, wow, people are so artistic that they got this out in like 2 hours. But like
Yeah. Oh god, artists are insane. They're so
Yeah.
good at this. It's just,
Like by the time the trailer's over and there's already fan art out there.
it's
yeah, there's like
absolutely wild.
beautifully done watercolor paintings of like a Lechonk sniffing at a crying Smoliv or something, like with a background and everything.
I don't know. I wish I was that talented. Instead, I'm making podcasts. But no, that's super cool. And yeah, I want to see the problem with all those theories and desires and wishes is that Pika clones don't get evolutions, right?
Yeah,
Not
it's a
it- yeah.
problem. And,
I would
and,
love to see that change.
there are a handful. There are a handful that actually like find use anyway. Like
Yeah.
Pulsel and Minun are trash, but like you obviously like Patchy's famous for being useful to some degree, and Togedemaru has some stuff. Like
Yeah.
there's a chance that it'll be usable, but you're right, it probably won't evolve because they just don't do that anymore.
And even still, they find use because of niche random circumstances.
yeah,
right.
they're all
Usually-
supports. For what
Usually
it's
the
worth,
ability, but this one, the abilities are
Static and natural cure.
natural cure is, I don't know how
but- what
good
was the
that'll
first
be.
one?
Static.
Static.
Static. Okay.
It's a Pika clone.
So unless
it's
it gets,
static.
unless it gets follow me, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
Follow
Probably
me
not
static
very
would be
much.
cool, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
interesting. I want to see what they do with all these, and I mean, obviously, like we got the box legendaries as well. And we'll talk about them in a moment, but we got 3 like normal Pokemon
Yeah.
And the designs are really, they're all great, right? Like this gives me great hope and excitement and hype for the rest of the regional Pokedex. Which we don't have
So we're gonna talk about the motorcycles next.
We don't have a region name yet, do we?
I don't believe so.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, yeah. So motorcycles. So I was
Card
Jet
games
bikes.
on motorcycle.
yeah, we're copying Yu-Gi-Oh like 15 years later or something. Yeah, I was excited when the trailer, dipped to black and then came back in with these fancy CGI graphics. I'm like, oh, here come the box legendaries. And we saw whatever that like cinematic up to the mountain in the middle of the water or something, and then suddenly we see
That was a nice cinematic though.
It was, and I wonder, like, I'm curious to see if there is relation to the actual region, right? Like, so if we can go find that chasm, go find that pillar in the water, right? Like, that'd be kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can maybe the elephant in the room on this one, but like the legendaries are the theme of the game, like the past and future.
Yep. So
I guess we can.
Corridon
along with the
and
professors.
Miraidon and the professors, right? So themes of the game, past and future. Korra or Korra, whatever, comes from the Japanese for the past, and then Mira something is Japanese for the future. So Corridon, Miraidon. And then obviously we have Professor Turo and Professor Sada for Futuro, for Spanish for future, and Pasada for Spanish for past. So that's cool. That's a neat thing that they're not being shy about the themes of these games being past and future. Right, especially with how the professors look.
Yeah. Apart from both of them being supermodels, the like cave woman and like
Who
Tron
has
suit.
teeth and she has teeth like fangs for some reason.
Yeah. They did that actually. I don't know if you've ever read I've got like the whole collection on that shelf there. The Pokemon Adventures, like the manga. Their like take on Ruby and Sapphire was they made the girl protagonist in Sapphire be like some feral cave child with fangs.
Oh wow.
Oh, weird. I was wondering what you had back there for your.
That's
manga.
like gens 1 through 5.
Ooh, cool.
That is a very like manga anime thing to do though, just to if the outfit wasn't enough, like we'll just slap some fangs in there, like
Now you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, she's not part of society.
So I'm curious to see, right? So the theory that the legendaries are motorcycles or transportation of some sort is not that hard to see. I mean, Corridon has a wheel in its chest, and Miraidon literally has jet knees or something, right?
With a seat and like handlebars.
And like all this stuff. Like people were equating the plumage on Corridon and literally its face thing on Miraidon looks like it's a motorcycle windshield, right? So you have all this stuff going for it. We got Tenya Ida legs on Miraidon, right? Like all this stuff. So
sorry, go ahead.
I don't know what do you think? How do motorcycles in this come together?
Yeah, so something I've seen, like the pattern that people have just been seeing in general with the games, like the past few gens, is that there's just a little bit of progress towards this idea of like a fully open adventure world, like each game, right? Like you had it was starting with Sun and Moon, even with the ride Pokemon, which were pretty cool, like giving you more freedom of movement. Then obviously Sword and Shield gave us the wild area, and then the expansions, which were like full 3D, like you could move around and all that. And then obviously Arceus was the biggest jump forward, and then you had like mount Pokemon and complete freedom of movement, and like it was it was like Breath of the Wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm hoping that we see is that we get something like Oris, like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire soaring. I don't know, like when you get into the post game, you can like fly how fly should have always been, where you are actually like controlling fly over it, and you can see the world down below you. I want to get on these motorcycle things and use them as mounts and like zoom across a world that doesn't put up invisible walls in front of me, and like maybe one of them lets you fly and one of them lets you like just zoom faster, like Like that, I assume the jet engine one could fly and the other one wouldn't. But like
That would be the logical
I think it's
one,
totally
yeah.
within the realm of possibility to add mounts to this, and like depending on how open it actually is.
So
right?
I think that's the key, right? Mounts can only be useful if there is an open enough and large enough world to make them useful, right?
Yep.
Because look, like I'm thinking even of Breath of the Wild when you had horses in the game, right, from the get-go, and then they brought out DLC that did actually give Link a motorcycle. And like it was cool, it was fun because I think you had less limitations than a horse, you can go fast and do whatever, and it was just like, yep, you did everything this game had to offer. Here is just a fun thing to do at the end. So I'm curious, right, if riding these legendary motorcycles is a post-game thing, is there anything that is going to be in-game before post-game, like leading up to riding?
I could see it being like part of the final boss battle or something.
I think it'll just be like, like our normal like ride stuff, but I think everything I think what it will be is you get certain mons, like in PLA where you had you had their own mons, just kind of NPCs that came in. I think it'd be like that till you hit probably post game and capture the legendaries, and then it's just all replaced with them. That's the way I kind of feel like it'll be. Like it's just they just kind of take over that whole role as just them, instead of having like 5 different mons for 5 different tasks.
So then you just have your legendary motorcycle.
You just had the legendary. It looks cooler. It probably moves faster.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like you said though, Rose, that it totally depends on like how open the world is, and I love to see the progression between each game. Like they're clearly making progress between each one, but you also have to consider that these games are built in parallel. Like they're developed by different teams, like over the same time span. Like this game was most likely started before Sword and Shield was finished, and supposedly it was like kind of by the there were interviews recently that said Sword and Shield were put together by their younger developers. They were trying to train before the old guard actually retires.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And this is like more of the A team for them, but that means it's totally different code base. They were starting from scratch. I mean, I'm sure they use they share a lot of the engine and stuff, but
I was wondering that too, right? So from a development and coding perspective, there was a lot of things that we saw in Sword and Shield and PLA and what we're seeing so far in this game that, like you kind of said, is clearly like building upon each other, but were they actually so what's the word I'm looking for, like established, where like, okay, cool, the 3D in the wild area was done, so now we can use that same or build upon it for PLA, and then the stuff in PLA was finished to some degree, so now we can use that in the development for Scarlet and Violet, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say, and like I'm sure they're sharing an engine, especially for the battle system.
Yep.
And like, I'm sure obviously they're talking to each other, right? So like things that you figure out would be passed along.
You would hope.
But ultimately, like they are completely separate code bases, completely separate teams, and just because one team finishes something does not guarantee that the other one can integrate it into their game.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's why you had a lot of like, this was way more visible in the Game Boy games or DS games, amusingly enough, like where like you had features in like Heart Gold and Soul Silver which did not make it into Black and White, for example. Like we never got following Mons again. We didn't get like the running shoe toggle or whatever, which was really nice. Like these are just little things that that one team did, and the other one was making a game in parallel, and they didn't bother to put it in.
Yep.
It was like not high profile enough to bother.
So there's definitely stuff like that, and we'll see when the games come out, how similar it is to everything else we've seen, right? I think one of the cool things we see too, at least we've seen so far in the trailer, we were talking about trees and textures and models, is that they're really pushing even if they are different teams and different code bases, you can look at these games and get the feeling that between Sword and Shield, PLA, and these games that they're getting more and more used to working on this hardware. I feel.
And just in 3D in general.
Also that is also
yeah, we've came a long ways.
Yeah.
From Oris and X and Y. One thing I will say that bothers me with the descriptions of Corridon and Miraidon on the website is that they have powers that far surpass those of other Pokemon.
Oh god, yeah, get ready for Zacian again.
Yeah.
The good news is that their typings are garbage, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, was it Fighting Dragon, Electric
Fighting
Dragon?
Dragon,
That's the
Electric
theory,
Dragon.
and
Yeah,
it is,
don't
it is
worry.
also
Not official. That's
Yeah.
that's not
Oh, it's not
official.
it's
official?
not
Okay.
official,
Not official.
but you can look at them with that idea and be like, okay, yeah, they are.
Like, almost certainly, right?
Like
yeah.
I'm hoping they say this for like every new, pair of legendaries that come out.
but
But
they-
like it's like if you literally make it more powerful than Zacian,
You get power creep,
Like-
right? But also, I think that's flavor text more than anything.
yeah, I hope.
I hope so.
Especially because,
I hope
like,
so.
There was discussion on Twitter I saw of like, we have in English it says these Pokemon are said to have powers that far surpass those of other Pokemon. I think someone said like in Spanish or some other language that's not English. They're like, hey, this says that like these are the most powerful Pokemon, like more explicitly, and it's like, okay, this is
Now,
all flavor
like-
text.
like-
It's all, I don't know.
Like
What worries me is that the Miraidon, the electric one,
the
there
speed.
was something about it's going to be fast. It has
If it's-
jets for feet. It's gonna
If
be
it's over
faster
like
than a Lucky.
160 or something like that speed, like it's over. Like that thing.
Welcome to restricted Regieleki.
Yeah.
Enjoy your stay. It's dragon type, so it resists all the normal elements.
Yep. That thing's gonna be a nightmare if it's like any kind of insane speed. Maybe they'll give it like speed boost that way it's actually slow and then it takes it a while to go up.
I hope
That's
they
like
give
a
it
fun
levitate.
theme.
Oh, you know what? If you notice in the whole any shot you see of it, it is not touching the ground.
I hope they
Oh
give
my
it
God.
levitate.
It is not touching the ground in any photo.
It has feet.
Then you get all
If
the
you-
resistances and none of the weaknesses of electric. Oh, that's
If
great.
you look at it, it has feet. It can touch the ground.
It chooses not.
I hope they give it levitate. Yeah, no, but like that's a fair point. Like but it doesn't. I didn't see text or official text that says it's super fast. Is that just a theory that people have?
Oh yeah.
I think that's just a theory.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just a theory.
It has jets.
It has,
for feet.
yeah, it
I'm
has
gonna say that
literal
again.
jets.
I can't argue with that. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see how that all shakes out. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see base stat totals, and
Yeah.
go from there.
Yeah, that's what I've been wanting to see. Like I want some good I want some meat for the competitive scene. Like we're not really getting much.
We're not gonna. We
You
won't get that until the.
you won't until release.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. But like that's what we like. At least me, that's what I want. Like we
Yeah.
see the leaks, we see the riddles and stuff. I'm like, I don't care about that. Like personally, like I don't. The writing on a Pokemon doesn't really do it for me. Like you could put me on a Gyarados to go ride around. I'd be just as happy as put me on the Legendary. Like
Sure.
I'm still doing the same thing. But like I want to know what it does. What's the abilities?
We'll get some wild conjecture until then. Like
Oh,
some
yeah.
of like the tiniest little things.
And-
Yeah, we'll get the but for some people that's the big thing though. They play these games with no competitive in mind. It's just for
Most of the people who consume
Most-
Pokemon media.
Like
True.
99% of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
And-
So so like I guess just being on the competitive side, it's just like a boring. It's like disappointing. It's like that was your big leak.
Just be happy that 99% of people aren't bothered with competitive but are still buying the games because we get funding and
True.
that's it.
That is true.
True.
Granted, if they this can be a whole other discussion. I know we talked about it a lot offline, but funding for competitive and all that stuff.
That's a podcast
That's
in itself
another
right there.
episode.
It's not good, but you wouldn't have regionals at all if you didn't
Also
have
true. If you didn't have
20
if you
million
didn't have
sales
the-
of each of these
if you
games.
didn't have the TCG.
Yeah.
That also that.
And the merch and all the merch. Like I think Rowan there funded a whole regional by himself on that back shelf.
That might be true. But yeah, so and I think we'll get more competitive stuff when we see what the gimmick is, right? That's gonna be the first bit of information that we
Yep.
get and like care about, can make more wild conjectures off of, right?
Yeah, that'll be a big thing to find out is the gimmick.
When do we
Now, do
think
you
we'll
guys
get
It's
that?
almost certainly too early to have any like real guesses, but I'd like to think that it's something around the like future past thing. But then I don't really want time travel, right? Because the thing that people bring up is, what if you could rewind a turn? I don't want that. That's awful.
no.
Don't give me that.
Here's a mulligan. Like what?
Yeah, that
What is
would be wild.
How does that even work?
Now,
Like,
you could like
does-
fish for information with it. It's like
does-
I don't
does-
think they have fake
does
out.
the
Oh no,
ti-
they did.
Does timer keep going during that time? Like,
Yeah, who
Ooh.
knows? Yeah, that's crazy. You think the
Like,
single
that's-
player are getting their timers back? 'Cause honestly, sadly, I don't think so.
No.
no, I don't think they are. Like, I think that is probably the last thing on their list for the competitive side. Like they want to push people to VGC.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the only
Yeah.
way. That's
That's their
their
format.
thing. Or 3v3 singles.
Yeah, if we ever get singles, it'll be the pick three
Yep.
thing.
Yeah,
Like,
which you don't need a long timer for that.
no, exactly.
So
I mean, it's sad because that's what people have been playing for a long time, but like I think it's just they have no faith in their peer. Like all of their online is peer-to-peer connections. It is garbage. If your internet
Yeah.
flips for a quarter of a second, it's over.
Yeah.
Like they just have no faith in their console
And-
being connected for 60
and
minutes.
to be honest, like I know a lot of people play Smogon, they have forever, but for like any kind of spectating, like if they broadcast it, any live stream, you don't want to sit there and watch, 6v6.
sprites?
With
Showdown sprites?
Well, even if it was like even if it was like an official tournament, that
Oh, but like yeah, so
on
stall tactics
cart-
and long. Yeah. So
like
that makes
like that, it's just not
absolutely.
it's not viewer friendly
Absolutely.
at all. Like it's not like, so that's VGC, you have 4v4, sometimes it is like 5-6 turn match,
Yep.
just slamming everything you can. Like they want it to be kind of quick because that's the only way you can have a viewer
remotely
as-
exciting. Yeah.
yeah.
Keep it interesting. Okay. So I know you were just saying the Sheldon of like you don't care about the single player experience or the story or the game.
I do to a point, just it's not the thing that gets me excited about the game, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, there's like so many people who just race through single player immediately, and it's like I need to find a 6IV Ditto as the first thing I do.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, like as far as like all that goes, like I enjoy it. I like having a game that has replayability for like when I'm just chilling or something, like on my own time,
Sure.
kind of thing, not really worried about anything. Like I like one I can just pick up and just kind of play through and enjoy. But like, so like when this comes out, I want to end up getting both games, and then I'm going to speed through one of them,
Sure.
like the absolute fastest way I can, and get to the post game, start getting, trying to get a team, like you said, get a 6IV Ditto on there, and then I'll be good. If we have breeding, we don't even know if we have breeding.
that
would be
is a
interesting.
Team editor.
oh, okay. So let's jump right in. I was going to talk more about the single player experience and these gas station Pokestops, Pokemon centers, the characters we saw, and character customization. Those are all really cool things. But what do y'all hope to see in this game? And you just spilled the beans with like wild
Yeah, I mean, sorry,
fantasies.
that is the wildest fantasy
Yeah.
that is never ever going to happen, even though it really should. Like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really say. I think they should just make it easier. I'd love to see even easier, like competitive building. I think they had a great start in Sword and Shield. I thought that was the biggest strides they'd ever made in a single game. Like,
I think that's very true.
mince easy access to bottle caps, eventually the Gmax soup, eventually the hidden ability capsule things, like just the regular ability capsules. Those were still like awkward and clunky for no reason really, but like they were there and they were not that difficult to get. So
And they still take some grind to get some of them too. Like the ability patches, it's a lot of ore to build up to get that thing.
That's what they did, right? They said, hey, we made this game. We want you to play this game to get the benefits of in-game things. And they said, go grind all your whatever the ore was called and on the island. But like all that stuff, right? And it's like, can we do it a little easier or something, right?
My theory on that is that they did it like that way because they wanted people, they wanted to make it so Dynamax Adventures continued to have a player base for a long time, because they knew, I'm sure they knew that the computers are utterly useless in that, right? And if you're playing legitimately, that is the only way to get the restricted mons that then became the format forever, right? So like if that game mode dies really early, then like you've effectively like sealed it off from legitimate players. So I think they just made it really grindy to force at least some subset of the population to keep playing it, to keep getting that ore so they can have their hidden ability capsules.
And it's not a difficult thing to obtain. Like the adventures aren't too awful to go through one. You know, it's not the longest grind. But
they're kind of fun in small doses.
In small doses. I was going to say, I could...
you know, if you're playing with people that actually play and are, like, I feel like some people just grief on there. They, like, legitimately, well, they'll, like, attack the, you know, person beside them.
You can attack your teammates, right?
Yeah, like, it's like, come on, man.
Sorry,
like, what are we doing here?
Had a weakness policy.
Yeah. Sorry. So, like, back on topic, like, yeah, I'd love to see easier stuff like that, like, less grind for that kind of stuff. More of those items. There's no reason that hidden ability capsules shouldn't be able to turn you back to a regular ability.
Right.
There's no reason we shouldn't have zero IV
bottle caps,
or
like zero IV bottle caps. Really, I'd like to. I mean, if they're, we had a whole discussion on this in Discord, and it's a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. But like, if you're gonna keep IVs in their current form, then I'd love to even see something like the feathers for IVs, where you can like, I want to add one IV at a time. That would be great. Like the team I'm about to put up now, the team I'm about to put up for my next video is like stolen from some, like this portion of the team is stolen from someone else, but like you need 3 speed IVs on your Porygon 2 and then 10 speed IVs on your Calyrex Ice, and I think 5 on your Reshiram. I'm just like, all right, that's cool. Like, and it's for good reason. It's like really cool strategic like value there, but
that only comes up so often.
I mean,
yeah.
Again, like the part of the rabbit hole is that we didn't even think IVs should exist at all. But like if they're going to, then make it relatively easy to modify them, because otherwise the only people who can do these cool strategies are, you know, people who can modify the game, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole either right now, maybe. But
well, like, if they want you to like have a connection,
people to actually build their teams, then give them the tools to do it, because otherwise it's just absurd, especially with restricted. It's like, who's getting a 10 speed IV Calyrex?
Oh my gosh. Or any weird IV for any of them. But like I like what you're saying, I think would be best if they gave us a way to adjust IVs. Like, you know, like always a big thing is like play with your favorite, play with the team that you know, went through the game with. Right. You can't do that if the IVs are completely garbage or useless. Like if you need a 0 IV speed on something and it's forever. Yeah, and it's got 18 speed, you're like, well, this is useless.
Yep.
So
but like the mints and stuff were absolutely amazing. Like some of the mons, like I was saying, like mons I've had from Ruby and Sapphire, from Coliseum, from Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
All of a sudden you can change their natures, and they're good.
The Kyogre in my Secaucus team is from my original Sapphire playthrough. That thing can drink. It's old enough. Like
that's fair, and that's the way to do that, right?
In England.
Close. In Europe, I think.
Bottle cap should go like up and down both ways. I feel like, you know, instead of just a bottle cap, just max it out. It should like you don't even need a separate item. Just let you choose. Do you want to go to max or do you want to go to mid?
Or do you want some funky thing in between? Maybe for stuff like what you're looking at, right? If we keep them in a 0 to 31 range, then have the options like
bottle cap fragments, sure, whatever.
So, whatever you want to call it.
Bottle cap and say, hey, I want my Porygon to have 5 speed IVs. Make this happen.
I think I'd love that. That would be amazing. I think like there's just some weird reluctance on their part to truly expose the numbers.
Oh yeah,
you'll know like, they will never tell you 31 IVs. They will say
good,
best. Or hyper trained or no good or whatever. And like
it's so vague.
They want it opaque. They want like some level of like mystery, like you trained this or whatever. There.
And that's what makes it right. The you trained it. It's a creature. It is unique, right? Like
that's where they make their cash, right? Like no one is gonna spend the obscene amount of money on plushies and stuff that people do unless there's some level of emotional attachment there, and you don't get that by exposing the raw numbers that it ultimately all boils down to.
Yeah. But the only issue with that and trying to get new people in competitive, though, you're trying to like explain IVs. It's like, well, it's this number that
exists that
isn't
every Pokemon
there.
Has.
Yeah, and we're gonna tell you if it needs to be 31 or 0. You know, for people that are like experienced. but don't really ask about anything in between. Don't ask about any, like, you have to get into like a calculator to figure out what your IVs are anyway, if it's not 0 or 31. Like, and then even then, if you're at some weird level, it could be
It
a
can be
range
off, yeah.
of IV. Yeah. Like, there's so much, it's just guesswork sometimes, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense to have them. I can get it for a playthrough while you have them, just to give it a bit of randomness.
Sure.
So every
That's exactly it,
playthrough
right?
isn't the same. I get that. But once you cross over to a competitive side, you don't need that randomness. That randomness is,
I think it's just people want a threshold. Like, once I've played your single player game enough, like, please lift the curtain and just let me do the things that I know are obviously happening.
Which personally, I'm fine. Like, make that post game, but let me do what I want to do post game.
Sure.
I feel like that's what we need.
That I agree. I have absolutely no problem with post game being what that is. Right? Like, it exists in post game. You have to beat the game, you have to catch the motorcycle lizard, you have to do whatever, right? And then you've jumped through all the hoops that Game Freak set for you, and then voila, you can see these numbers. You can do something with it. You can get the bottle caps to set them to exactly what you want, right? That'd be great. It would just be, very against their system, right? That they have in place. And
they have
that's
a
the hard part.
philosophy.
That's a better word for it.
Yeah, like they have I feel like just some things that they just will not, they will not cross. Some lines they just won't cross on their design, which I guess is respectable to a point, but also it's like, well, this is a reason.
It's worked for them so far.
It has
right?
worked.
Like,
that's a
it's
fair
the
point.
Most profitable media franchise ever.
They
like,
literally print money.
Why would you ever change that?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's very true. Because I mean, they print money with it. Whatever's going to sell, I mean, BDSP sold, and it is literally just a, putting makeup on a pig kind of thing. It's just, hey, we got this old game. Well, this is the exact same thing. It's just prettier, and it sold how many units? How many millions of units? Like,
yeah, I'm still kind of sad about that purchase.
I mean, I bought it. I played them.
I bought it.
They,
And I
like,
stopped playing it.
And also, like,
the best part of that was VGC, and it was a nightmare to actually
yeah, because
play on it,
they were just trying to make money. They just printed money with those. Yeah. So I mean, I get keeping the formula works, but also at the same time, like, it's the reason you get a lot of complaints like out of Nintendo and stuff is they don't keep up with the actual
times.
With the times, with the market. Like, they're usually just a few steps behind on all of those things.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what it is, reasons for it. I guess it's got to be some kind of company philosophy across the board, or just how their game developers are.
It's just generally being conservative, which makes sense when you're winning currently, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
you don't want to take a risk.
Just like, but yeah, I mean, going back to the original thing, like, what we're looking forward to in this game, that's like, I would take any amount of stride for it. Like, obviously there are like fantasies we can have about like the best possible way they can do it. It boils down to it. I'd like you to just give me a showdown editor I can type my stuff into and move on with my life. But like, it's not going to happen, and that's okay. But like, any little jump forward from the last gen would be fantastic.
Well, if we get a jump like from Gen 7 to Gen 8, if we get anything
that
close
type
to
of
that,
jump again, that'd be great. Then we're just a short jump away from a showdown editor.
Gen 8 actually made it accessible to people.
Yeah, I don't think I would have played VGC.
Oh no, definitely not.
I tried.
I looked at it.
Not without the software eventually found.
Yeah,
I tried to breed. I even had like a Ditto inside. I tried to breed. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like in Gen 7, like, I didn't know anything about it. I gave up after riding my bike around in a circle for a few times. I said, nope, I'm done with this. Gen 8 made it way easier. So if we get, a similar kind of improvement from that, like, it's just going to keep getting easier, which is good. It's good for everybody.
Yep.
At that point,
it increases the player base for VGC. It lowers the bar to entry, right? Like all this stuff would be solely
and it
beneficial.
makes our lives easier too.
Also that. and
gives people more time to make content. Like,
I was gonna say, it gives people more reason to
Play
listen to
draft
us,
leagues.
and we can do more things.
Yeah. That's at least on the competitive side. On the single player side, I just want to be surprised. I want to see something cool and new, and I like the open worlds. Like I want to see them push the boundaries of what they can do with open world, because they do push forward a little every gen, but it's a slow progression. So like, just want them to wow me. That's pretty much it.
I agree with that, right? Like, I want to see, I think I said it earlier, how they do open world, how they do level scaling, how they do gatekeeping, how they, what the design of this region is. Everything that we've seen in the trailers looks gorgeous, right? For the world. How do they do multiplayer? How does that actually
That's going to be
function?
interesting. Yeah, I'm still like, what's the benefit? You know what? Like that's going to be
with your friends. I guess
I know, but like I feel like it needs to serve some kind of it can't be just us doing, waving emotes at each other and running off in separate directions like in a trailer. Like there needs to be there needs to be some purpose for me to have.
That was a really weird way to show off of like, this is how you play
with your friends.
Run away.
Yeah, co-op battles would be cool. What if you bring in like quad battles or something,
or like some kind of multi battle system maybe, like that would work. I think one thing,
like, the closer you get to MMOs, you can have like raids, like let's run into the Team Rocket base and all of us have to take out grunts.
I think we need to keep some kind of raid system. I think they're going to keep that, because I think the raid dens was one of the best things. Because that was the best way to get resources. Like you got your TRs, you got all your money making Pokeballs, like, or you just got all sorts of stuff out of those raid dens that, gosh, I don't know how you get those in a previous generation game. Like get that much stuff from doing a 5-minute raid.
I'm wondering, right? So the raid dens and any sort of raid idea, right, was very much here's the open world 3D area, right? Here's the wild area, and then you just had these kind of stupid little stones scattered across the world there, and that's where you went to go do things when you saw a pillar of light come out of those. If they do raids, if they have like a raid den, if they do something of that same nature for this game, I hope it's more what's the word, less here is a game thing and more this belongs in the world, right? There's a word for that and I don't know what it is right now.
So almost like alphas, maybe something like where it's actually
alphas were cool, right? In PLA that'd be a cool way to do it, but I feel like the alphas in PLA and the raid dens in Sword and Shield don't equate to the same multiplayer experience, obviously, because PLA is not multiplayer.
Right? Like you just have to flavor it properly, right? It's like the raid, and I think the raid dens were a consequence of just frankly like terrible netcode that they had, right? Like I don't know if you play in the wild area on local area network, like the people who are in the same room as you, actually you see them move like more or less in real time. Like it's kind of what you'd expect from MMO or something like that. Okay. But if you play online, of course, it's completely unuseful. Why are you even showing me these people? They're just teleporting.
Yeah.
So there's no way you're ever going to have some kind of cohesive online gameplay like that. So they just have a beacon of light into the sky that says, go here to play with other people. And at some point they even dropped that pretense by just letting you go to the menu and select it, right?
Right.
Like it was just, this is the multiplayer beam, go to it. But if this has like some level of actual online and you can meet up with people and see them move in real time next to you, then there's no reason you can't just have a big old Pokemon jump out from behind the rocks and attack you all, and you've got to work together to beat it. It doesn't have to be a literal skyscraper to have that. You can do hordes, you can have powerful trainers who are just way too high of level for you all to deal with alone, like whatever. I think there's definitely options, and I hadn't even thought about like how they're going to do cooperative gameplay, but that's a really good point. Like when I first said the word raid, I was literally meaning like an MMO raid, like you are all going together into instance content.
See, that would be cool.
That would be cool too. Yeah, I would be all for that. If they can make like an MMO style raid of like, like you said, go infiltrate Team Rocket's base, beat up a bunch of grunts, and y'all have to go face Giovanni himself, right?
Yeah, like a modern version.
And he has a Mewtwo at the end that you all got to fight together.
Yeah,
and then
like almost like a modern, like what was
agreed.
it? In the Gen 2 games when you had to fight with Lance, kind of like that kind of thing. You infiltrated their little Team Rocket headquarters.
Yeah,
Right.
something like that. That's super cool.
Yeah, something like that where you actually with other players, like, you're split up, say, all right, I want to take this wing, you take that wing. And then, all right, we'll meet up at the boss.
So then the other thing too, and we have to wait and see how they do all this, right? But then the other thought is, how do you make that like refresh? How do you make that like come back, right? Like, Team Rocket they licked up the bruises and came back, right? Like it could be, it could just be that.
You don't even have to make like MMO raids, like they don't even bother to come up with it. It's just you get to play this again if you want to, right? Like
that's
no
a fair
to fight
point.
the thing. Like,
but that's also good things for them to update time to time. You know how they do the wild area news kind of update.
Yeah,
like,
good point.
So okay, this is the big event this month. Is you got a big new raid. You gotta you only have this month to do
raids?
Yeah. Because that's how you like. How did you make resources in the old games? You played the Elite Four over and over and over again, and got their money and got their XP. They said the same things every time. They treated you like it was your first time every time. There's not like a whole ton of like
variety
continuity in these games.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just you do the same content over and over again, and that's the nature of RPGs. But like, you just add more of those every so often, and suddenly, like after 2 years of the game's lifespan, there's like 10 such encounters. That would be super cool.
That would be really cool.
Or like this weekend, you have a higher shiny odds on something at the end of a raid.
Something like that.
There's a lot of space for that.
If they do multiplayer well, I feel like that is a thing they have to include is keeping it fresh somehow.
Yeah, because ultimately multiplayer depends on other people.
Yep.
They have shown that they are just utter dog water at making functional AI for co-op or otherwise. So if it's the same thing as raid adventures. If you don't have people playing it, the game mode dies, and it's impossible for the last few people playing to experience it later than like the big jump when you release it. So yeah, you got to keep it active. You got to keep it fresh, at least for the 2-3 years that the game is out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As long as we get Martin and his Soul Rock, if you're playing by yourself, I'll be happy.
Martin should be he should be like a recurring character from now on.
Yeah,
like
he needs to be.
You have Cynthia and you have Martin.
Yes,
because that was the worst AI I've imaginable for it. Like, it's just gonna sit there in cosmic power, and you're like, dude, we're dying over here.
I'm waiting for the body press. Come on.
Can you do something with all that, please? Whatever. Yeah. I think we solved it. I think we just told Game Freak how to make this game and how to make this game good.
There we go.
World of Warcraft, Pokemon.
World of Pokecraft.
Yeah,
there we go.
There you go.
Perfect. There's something else I've been hoping for. I've seen, if you notice in the CGI trailer at the end with the 2 legendaries that Miraidon, its eyes are LEDs.
Yeah, that's super cool.
If you look at it, and if it does emotes with its eyes,
I'm gonna need to have some RGB hell on it.
It needs to do so, or can you imagine what they could do with the shiny on this thing?
Oh, I had not even thought about that.
Yeah, I've seen some fan art people doing just different kind of little emojis in its eyes, and that would be
amazing.
Cherry on top. You give me Lechonk and you give me eye emojis.
Emojis, yeah. Oh,
okay,
glorious.
I think I'm checking out of that.
Okay, well, when we set out to record this episode, we did not think we'd go particularly long.
Over an hour? Wow. Yeah.
I think so. I think after all said and done, we'll be around or just over an hour. So good job, us.
Imagine whenever we get some actual deep content out of this game.
3.5 minute trailer too. All right, y'all, we gotta rein this in.
I got one more thing too with the trailers. I don't know if y'all noticed, but some of the Pokemon that they revealed in it. So we got Colossal.
Hyped.
We got Hatterene.
Do we have Hatterene?
The hat 6 or the cap 6 right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's coming.
Does that mean Dynamax is back? Why would you put Colossal back in this game?
Because Colossal was a neat Pokemon design.
Only because of Dynamax. Thing is,
we will have a whole different discussion.
I just wanted to point this.
We can talk about competitive.
I just wanted to point this out. that
you're
we
right.
got Colossal back.
I
So
mean, we saw. I'm excited. We saw Bagon and Larvitar, right? So that's
Oh, yeah.
exciting.
they're going to be the promo. Like I bet those are
Toxapex?
going to be the promos.
Oh yeah,
Toxapex was in.
Toxapex. Yeah. There's a whole beach thing with Toxapex.
Oh yeah. Toxapex. Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, there's a handful.
Yeah.
There's a handful of Pokemon.
Whatever. I just wanted to point it out that we got Cole, and
Cole was fun.
give me back my G-Max Cole, and I'll be happy.
We'll
regional.
We'll put a pin in that for
I think that's
a few months.
That's a good
from
way
now.
to cap it off, is where Cap and I asked for Dynamax, and everybody else was kind of like,
Well, it's
Unsubscribe.
I'd be fine, but I also I don't want Dynamax again. I would take something like Dynamax, but let's get a new gimmick if we're gonna have a gimmick still.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
for sure.
No, yeah.
Now, if the gimmick is every gimmick, I'm just gonna, I don't know. I'll walk away. All right, real quick, the actual last thing, and then we'll sign off this podcast. Which starter?
Oh God. Okay, it depends. Okay, I'm going with the green cat unless it turns into green Incineroar, and then it's fire starter for me. I am normally a water starter guy, but I am not taking Donald Duck as my starter. Just absolutely not.
I'm going Sprigatito. Yeah. I'm going to cat, even if it turns into green Incineroar, which I kind of hope it does. I hope we get super Incineroar counter. I hope it's
I mean, if it does that, I like your theory of it is Incineroar's protagonist to its heel, right?
Yes.
That's
yeah,
fine.
See, that's
the
what
only way
I
I'll
want.
accept Sprigatito getting on two legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
won't
my
like
hope
it,
for
but I'll accept it.
Sure.
Or if it gives it I don't know, special intimidate, something like that. Maybe that'd be pretty cool. Or defiant, competitive, something like that.
Yeah, I do want to see how what they do with that cat.
But I feel like regardless,
Fuecoco.
Okay, yeah. I'm leaning for. I don't know. The cat's too cute, but Fuecoco is waiting there for me. If we are
is so
going
friend-shaped.
into Incineroar too.
he is derpy, and I like that.
So good.
Again, my favorite Pokemon is Dragonite. I'm in for the derp, but
That's fair. All right, that's it. We're putting a pin in this episode.
Right.
We're gonna stop recording
Calling
here. We're calling it here. It's great. So that being said, thank y'all for listening. Oh gosh, I had my not script, my thing that I want to. Nope, not that. Oh gosh, professionals here, y'all. Where is it?
would you like to give your socials and sign off?
Yeah. Okay. So, oh gosh. There it is. Thank you to RobKTA for the use of our theme song, the Goldenrod Game Corner. I could not find that little line for the life of me, and I should have it memorized. So thank you for that to RobKTA and Game Chops for the use of Goldenrod Game Corner as a theme song. My name is Harrison. You'll know me as Ixen on Twitter and Twitch and all that fun stuff. Find me there. And of course we have...
Rowan, you can find me on Twitter, Rowan W. Hall. You can find me on YouTube, just C/Rowan Hall.
And I'm Sheldon. You can find me as Captain Unova on Twitter and Captain Unova on Twitch as well.
All right, and this has been the Game Corner. Find us at Game Corner VGC on Twitter and wherever you listen to us now, YouTube or Spotify. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, game on. Bye.
Hey guys, you know there's coal in the game?
Yeah, well, we went over that already.
All right, I'm stopping.